prosecutor's office.
Now, instead, the prosecutor's office is set to file charges against 32-year-old Cruz Mickens of South Bend. Officers were called to the scene Sunday. Mickens shooting.
It's not, but I do have a silver shilling in my mouth and seems broadcast.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Great.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, January 31st meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is the accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to infrastructure planning and growth. Approval of contract R37496. Added travel lanes and bridge replacement on Douglas Road and Ironwood. Change order number 7.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Metters.
Good evening, Sky Metters, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth. Offices on the 7th and 11th floor. This item is a change order on our Douglas Road project. There were some changes that came about with working with the contractor on how we're going to approach some unsuitable material and widening in the area. While this initial change order is in the amount of $20,000, we feel that this is going to save us quite a bit of money in the long run on other items and how this is addressed. So we've reviewed this and recommend your approval.
This has to do with taking out some bad soil and
Actually, it has to do with doing another method with surcharging the soil, and then so we don't have to take out as much bad soil.
gotcha.
So, but we'll still have a stable base to put that widening on. Yeah.
So they'll be doing more then there, which is why they're going to charge more, $20,000 more?
Actually, the cost is for some additional settlement plates so we can monitor
Okay.
the surcharge and make sure it's working, and the work and monitoring that goes along with those. It results in an increase of $20,000 to the $12 million project.
Any questions?
Sure, it's not specifically on this, but on that whole project out there, are they doing a sidewalk from Cleveland down to Douglas, do you know?
No. Well, there will be a walking path on one side of the road, if I recall, from the limits of the project from Ivy to 23. So this is from Ivy to 23, so it doesn't address anything on,
Somebody
from
asked-
Ironwood to, there is a section of Ironwood, I know where you're talking from Cleveland,
Right,
that
because there's
part of
no-
it has a walkway, part of it doesn't.
Right,
And that's not in our long-range plan right now to provide that sidewalk, but it's something that we are aware of.
2030.
2030, that's long
That'll be
range.
good, that's for sure.
I won't be here, so.
Any other questions for Mr. Metters? If not, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is approval of the quote award on roadway repair for Lincoln Way West near Mayflower Road.
Sky Metters again, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth. What this is for is if you're traveling westbound on Lincoln Way, going into the roundabout near Mayflower, on the southern lane there, you've noticed some settlement that's been going on at the curb line. And it's continued to get worse. We've patched it, but that's just a Band-Aid. We ended up going out for quotes to get a contractor to go in there and see what the problem is and try to fix that the right way instead of just throwing cold patch on it. We sent the RFQ out to 6 contractors. We had 3 quotes come in, and we have reviewed these and request that the quote of $10,900 from Selge Construction be approved so that we can go in and fix that.
That was quite a spread between the 3 quotes.
Yeah, we were very curious about that spread. I think there might have been one of the contractors not looking apples to apples when they were quoting it. So,
Shocking. Good job.
oh,
Yeah, I
thanks.
think it's going to be nice to fix that up. Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve moving it with the Sledge Construction.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sky Meadows.
Thank you very much.
Next, from the Maintenance Department, approval of the 2023 exterminator contract.
I think Brian's online.
Is Brian online?
Brian's online. He's online.
Brian, would you like to address the exterminator contract? You're muted, by the way.
Wow.
Brian, can you hear us?
I'm having problems with my computer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I forgot that in my folder. I do not have that in front of me right now. That is probably the Orkin contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Real simple.
That's for the basic.
Yeah, according to the letter, there was no change between the 2022 monthly fee and the proposed 2023 monthly fee.
That's a basic maintenance contract with Orkin that does all our facilities for our pest control, and that did not change this year. Asking for your approval on that contract.
Something not affected by inflation. So, do we have
Yeah,
any questions?
about the only thing.
So the total amount of the year will be what it was last year,
Correct.
which is roughly around $487.18.
I believe that's correct. And they also take care of anything that comes up in between that's extra, that's taken care of, and that's not an added cost. So if we had, the only thing that is not included in that contract, and it's been a rare time that if we have had an infestation where bed bugs or something like that has been present, that would be an additional cost. But all of our other pest control, bugs, rodents, stuff like that is covered underneath that contract.
I have no further questions at this time.
There being no further questions, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve this contract.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next item under PSAP, we're going to table that. The petitioner asked for some more time to have some clarifications built in. So do we have a motion to table that?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you
Aye.
vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
It's been tabled.
Now, on to the topic of the evening.
Do you want to do the motion to take it off the table first?
Oh, that's right, we did table that, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to take the resolution R1C 2023 off the table?
Yeah, let them do it.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye,
All right, we can address it.
thank you. Just a little background before we move ahead. As everybody knows, this one was an agenda item 2 weeks ago, and we were urged at the time to delay making a decision, which we did. We set the time for additional public comment for 2 more weeks, which brings us to this evening. We certainly appreciate all the comments that we received. Got a lot of written comments. They were collected, comments, questions, concerns, and we reviewed those and came up with responses to each of them, which has been posted on our website. It's part of the agenda packet for this evening, for those of you who care to look for that. There were some key questions that were raised continually throughout the comments that we received. To summarize, I would say there's really 3 of them. Why now? Seemed to be a question that was asked several times. As you recall, we discussed this last meeting. This isn't something that was just brought up. This started in 2013 and was brought up again in 2016. And Commissioner Dieter read several letters about that several years ago. Since then, this item has been kind of kicked down the can down the road for, in my opinion, far too long. We are one of only 3 counties that still has a separate voter registration board and has not consolidated the duties of the voter registration office with the clerk. The second biggest question we received were, what are the savings? As you may know, we discussed this 2 weeks ago. The plan is to eliminate 4 positions from the current VR office when it is moved to the clerk's office. And that would result in a savings of $157,790 in salaries, plus an additional approximately $80,000 in taxes and benefits. So right off the bat, we would save $234,790 the first year, and that would continue on through the elimination of those 4 positions. Probably the thing that I know the thing we received the most comment on was urging that the bipartisan nature of the voter registration board be maintained. As you know, in the original resolution that we considered 2 weeks ago, there was a suggestion that if there was ever a need for an additional employee, that the clerk would have the right, the ability to hire that person regardless of party affiliation. And that's probably the number one thing that we heard. Maintain that bipartisan nature. So the resolution has been revised, and that has been taken out, and it clearly states that the persons assigned to voter registration in the clerk's department would maintain a 50-50 split between the representatives of the 2 major parties. So that, to me, is a key change. And frankly, it points out the value of having additional input time from the citizens. With that, Commissioner Dieter, I know you have
Sure, cool, thank
something
you.
to add to it.
Deb, you want to talk first? You want to go?
Oh, no,
Okay,
go ahead, and then, because so far I'm agreeing so far.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, thank everyone, whichever side of the issue you're on, that's fine. It is interesting because when I was first elected, when I came in, or even before that, I always had wondered why there was no true supervisor of voter registration. It was always done by the party chairs. And there was issues there that people even when I wasn't elected, were asking me, and I said, I don't know. And I called Mr. Augustino a long time ago, and he said, well, the party chairs, they appoint, and after that, they really don't have to adhere to any county handbook of the normal things that all of our other employees do. So at the time, I told Commissioner Castelny, I think we should do this. He was hesitant because there was a Democratic clerk. Now it's reversed, and now each party is against each other again. So that's the nature of what we deal with. So we try to make the best decisions we can by getting as much information as we can. That's why we let people speak at the last 2 weeks ago. That's why we asked for all of your questions and input, which we have posted under this agenda on our online, and hope people read those. And we also went and spoke with Judy Bradford and Professor Binion of IUSB to explain those out. And we spoke to them. We had good back and forth points that were brought up. So it's a good thing when you do that, regardless of what side of the issue you're on. It's always good to get as much input from everybody that's here. So that's what we do. I will give these. We have a letter from League of Women Voters, and we also have one from Jeff Ray, representing the Chamber of Commerce, and our attorney, Mike Mish. We'll read those aloud for the record, and we also have copies over there.
Statement of the League of Women Voters to the South Bend area. On Resolution R1C 2023, consolidating the Board of Voter Registration. Consistent with our previous statement, the League of Women Voters of the South Bend area is not taking a position for or against the resolution to consolidate the Board of Voter Registration and designate the Circuit Court Clerk as the voter registration officer for St. Joseph County. We do want to publicly thank the commissioners for delaying the vote, listening to the public, answering our questions in writing, and meeting with us. We also want to thank them for providing details about the estimated cost savings and how they will be obtained, and deleting the most controversial part of the resolution, which entitled the clerk authority to appoint anyone regardless of political affiliation. Rather than sustaining a 50-50 partisan split in the event that another employee was needed to produce an even number of voter registration specialists. Since meeting with representatives of the Board of Commissioners, we have received numerous questions and heard concerns from the League members and non-members alike. We recognize that there are still concerns with this proposed change to the way the county handles voter registration. We commend the commissioners for taking public input seriously and encourage them to listen to ongoing concerns by providing at least one more opportunity for public feedback before taking a final vote on the revised resolution. During this time, we also encourage consultation with the clerks in other counties who oversee the voter registration operations in their counties to learn about their experience, including best practices to implement and pitfalls to avoid. By providing one more opportunity for the public to voice their questions and concerns, and by responding directly to those concerns, the Board of Commissioners will have demonstrated a commitment to representative democracy and citizen participation. Whatever the final outcome, we look forward to working with county officials in charge of voter registration to ensure that eligible voters have the information and access they need to exercise their right to vote. The next is from South Bend Regional Chamber, signed by Jeff Ray, President and CEO. Dear President Baxmeyer, I'm reaching out on behalf of our 1,300 member businesses that employ close to 70,000 people in northern central Indiana and southwest Michigan. Those businesses rely on us to look out for their interests and to weigh in on their behalf on key issues of public policy at the local, state, and federal levels. My purpose today is related to resolution number R1C 2023, a resolution of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners abolishing the Board of Voter Registration and designating the Circuit Court Clerk as the voter registration officer of St. Joseph County to supervise the registration of voters in the county. I had an opportunity to attend your January 17th board meeting virtually and appreciated the opportunity to learn more about the proposal and hear the input from the commissioners and community. I applaud your decision to postpone the final vote that day on the resolution in an effort to provide further clarity on some of the questions that were raised, and we appreciate your diligence in answering those questions that have since been asked. For years, we have championed the streamlining of local government services and see this proposal as an important opportunity for the county to modernize some of its processes and procedures and align those services with practices that 97% of all Indiana counties already use. Not only will this plan lead to the saving of significant tax dollars, but it will also ensure a more efficient and effective delivery of these critical services. We see this as a real win for St. Joseph County. This is an issue that's been debated in the county for well over a decade, and at different times has been supported by both Democrat and Republican officials. We believe the law very carefully sets some guidelines and protections for the voter registration process under this new model, and it is time for St. Joseph County to put politics aside and get on board with the rest of the state of Indiana. We encourage you to move forward with approving the resolution at your January 31st, 2023 meeting.
Is there any other technical issues that you would want to convey, or we're good?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. President.
Yeah, and again, what I heard all from people and stuff, and I'm excited now that things are going to be the right thing to do so that we can serve the people the right way, and there'll be 2 Republicans and 2 Democrat people working there, so it'll be even and helping instead of just a variety of different people. So that was a new thing that we put in there, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so that worked out well. So I'm just glad to hear that. Yes, so I just want to do the best thing to help people.
Thank you.
Good.
If there are no other comments from the board, I call for the vote.
I move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Voting aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we now move to public comments. If anybody wishes to make a comment.
You're gonna be on TV, buddy.
Sure. Tell me when. Good evening, Mike McManus, 51940 Lilac Road. Thank you. I appreciate the fact that you did postpone the vote, that you did give people the opportunity to ask questions. I would suggest that none were answered. I've got two primary issues. First, I don't think it's possible, because the combination hasn't actually happened yet, for there to have been any real analysis of what savings there will be from this. So for anybody to say that we're going to save X, Y, or Z, it's impossible. It just can't be done. So if you think that we're not aware that this is a political thing and not a savings thing, please be aware that that's just not the case. We recognize this is a political thing. So that leads me to point number 2, and the issue is trust. The issue isn't whether there's 50-50 Democrat, Republican. It's how that person, how those people are going to be chosen. You're not allowing Democrats to choose their own representatives to a very important function of our democracy. Instead, you're allowing a politically elected clerk who ran some rather unfortunate commercials that lead us to not trust her at all. A state police investigation determined unequivocally that the target of her commercials did nothing wrong, acted appropriately and in good faith, and the only person that did anything wrong was a member of the Republican Party. So just be aware that we understand this is politics, and please don't think for a moment that we believe, that even you believe, we're going to save money, because it's just not provable. Thank you.
Don Westerhausen, 52346 Spring Arbor Court, Granger, Indiana. I just want to go ahead and emphasize what Mike just said. basically, this comes down to a matter of trust. And there's really no trust that we have on our side of the county clerk's office right now. You got to remember Keygate, which the entire Republican Party in the county was responsible for, at least complicit with that lie, started this, us and the lack of trust. And I just want to make sure that we understand that it was basically Commissioner Baxmeyer, when you sat up here one day, you accused the clerk of a crime. Commissioner Dieter had to chastise you about that. And then when you become involved with the president clerk, as far as like her campaign and things like that, from my standpoint, on this particular issue, you lied, or at the very least were complicit with that lie. And I just want to just say that I think instead of calling this Keygate, maybe we should just call it the St. Joe County Big Election Lie. Because part of this lie continues in the fact that you think we're going to save money with this proposal, but the amount of money that you're saving with this proposal is far less than the amount of money you spent on legal fees for multiple attorneys, just to go ahead and carry on with Keygate. The other thing that really bothers me is when you accuse Rita Glenn of a crime from up there, then you go on TV and say that now Keygate's just an administrative error. It's really not, basically a crime, but that's exactly what you say. And like I said, Commissioner Dieter had to chastise you about that. The last is the hypocrisy. And Commissioner Fleming, you're part of that hypocrisy. You were against this the last time that this came up. And I think that you should have been against it this time also. And you're right, it is a political thing. The Democratic Party in 2016 isn't the same as the Democratic Party in 2022. Many people in the Democratic Party in 2016 would not have accepted this. My hope is that the Republican Party in 2024 is going to be much better than the Republican Party in 2022, because we sure saw how you can lie and be complicit with that lie, and at least on this one issue, basically being very hypocritical. So we're sacrificing expertise for administration. I hope the current county clerk and her staff are going to have to earn our trust. I hope they do that over the next 2 years. And we will be watching and making sure that we can do the best that we can to keep this bipartisan. Thank you.
Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing further debate to happen on this from the 17th. Some important questions did come up and did get answered. I did find one that did not get answered. That was by an issue raised by Josh Osborne from Wyatt, who indicated there's a new machine coming on this year, and it's going to cause a little difficulty with the learning curve for the poll workers. And he suggested it was best if you postponed this, because this can be confusing as far as who you report to, where certain where things go to, who's responsible for certain things, and then you're going to change the voting apparatus and cause some confusion there. He suggested it may have been, not that it wasn't a good idea to go ahead and consolidate the office, just that now probably wasn't the right time, but I did not hear that issue addressed. But I do thank you for allowing the debate to continue on this. Thank you.
My name is Cheryl Lash. I live at 3830 Langley Drive in South Bend, Indiana, 46614. I'm not sure if this is where I should make my comment or not, because it doesn't have to do with the election. But I was really kind of disturbed when I read in the South Bend Tribune an interview that was done by the doctor at the health department. According to him, Commissioner Baxmeyer, you said that to him that you were going to try to reduce the number of grants that the health department applied for. And I hope you clarify what you meant by that, because that's really kind of opposite of what most governmental elected officials want. They usually want their departments to try to find as much money that's not taxpayer money through grants, et cetera. And so I'm a little confused. So I would like you to clarify that issue on whether or not you want the health department to apply for fewer grants. Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Cotton, 63808 State Road 23, North Liberty. I am the St. Joseph Libertarian County Chair. 2 weeks ago, in this room, individuals representing the League of Women Voters, the Democrat Party, and other members of the public voiced their concerns and complaints regarding R1C 2023. During that meeting, the commissioners brought up the history of attempts to move the voter registration board under the control of the county clerk. At the time, they had their own concerns about election integrity, maintaining checks and balances, and ensuring transparency to the public. During that same meeting, the League of Women Voters and the Democrat Party expressed those same exact concerns with the board. The Libertarian Party, being the process-oriented people that we are, focused on keeping a level playing field for all and did their due diligence. We are aware of state law and we are aware of the home rule. Unlike the other two political parties in the room, the Libertarian Party is in a position to propose solutions. We did our homework, we took these major concerns and addressed each point individually and as a whole. The major concerns noted by us were as follows: hiring practices that involve the county chairs of each political party, odd number clerks under the leadership of the county clerk, which county chair that odd number clerk should report to if they were an independent, libertarian, or other political party, providing transparency as well as checks and balances by having established third party present and maintaining those checks and balances in the future. The end result, as shown in the published agenda, is no odd number clerk and a 50-50 split between Democrat and Republicans. You took away the one new proposal that the GOP had for this resolution and set it back to the exact same setup that was present underneath the Democrat proposal. The public is only too aware that the last election was halftime and the teams have switched sides on the field. What one party argued for previously is now being argued against. The GOP likes crying out about socialism and the other ill-fated ideas. Why do you think that will work now when it didn't work in every other instance it was tried? Is the common question asked. I ask this of you today. Why do you suddenly think that this idea is acceptable just because you are currently in power when it wasn't acceptable before? You were offered solutions to problems that both the Democrats and Republicans have brought up. In fairness, they are all valid concerns, but you have disregarded them. But what wasn't fair is that you were given these solutions and all of a sudden you aren't interested in them because you're not holding the whip hand. The board's short-sightedness is going to be readily apparent at some point in the not-too-distant future. Someday when a Democrat, Libertarian, or other party becomes a county clerk, or the Democrat or GOP party experiences political disaster and becomes a minor political party in the St. Joe County, you will again have these same exact concerns already expressed. You will complain about the other side's lack of transparency, how they run roughshod over...
3 minutes are up. Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
Good evening. Pam Clay is 1106 Bellevue Avenue in South Bend. I want to thank you for rectifying the most egregious part of the resolution, ending with a 50-50 split. That's the most tolerable that it's tolerable. I have strong concerns about a couple other things, but before I say that, I want to say also thank you for taking public input. I would encourage you to do more of that. You'll get better results when you listen to people and not just preach from the pulpit. I have a couple of concerns I want to share with you. I was hoping this was going to be postponed so that you could do a little further research. I have a couple of concerns. I know the League of Women Voters registered this too. Study how other counties do it. Study the pitfalls and the good things. I don't know why we rush this. There's no rush on it. I would still like us to do that in case we need to change things. I've heard also that voter registration staff will be in the clerk's office. I think that's a big mistake. Number one, they might be asked to sub on when somebody's out. We all know the election law book is this thick. They don't have time to learn how to file clerk things and that kind of stuff. They're doing voter registration. I don't think they should be subject to any of that part of the county clerk's office. I think they need to have their separate office. They've got files to store. They don't need other things to break their mind when election law is so critical. And I'd like you to consider a couple of those questions and maybe come back with a little bit of improvement. Thank you.
Good evening, Cheryl Nix, 17901 Sable Ridge Drive, South Bend, Indiana, Clay Township, 1st District Commission. I do appreciate that we removed the clause that would allow for an imbalance in voter registration. However, I'm still concerned about who is choosing the Democrats and Republicans, and the reason I'm concerned is because what I see happening on our Board of Health. So the Health Board lineup change, there was a great article in the South Bend Tribune recently, and talked about how Dr. Marker, who was just elected, a Republican appointee, was just elected president of the Board of Health, was removed and replaced by the Republican county chair, which was allowed. But it's unfortunate, his term was up on August 21st, and Commissioner Baxmeyer, you chose not to renew him on the board, and you said, at least the Tribune said, you said you'd held off on the decision this fall because you were busy with election campaigns and because you didn't want it to be a political football. But I think unfortunately it kind of became a political football when the president of the board just was removed. Right now on our Board of Health, we have 4 Republicans, John Lynn, Ellen Rylander, Robert Hayes, and Kristen Vincent, and only 2 Democrats. According to Indiana code, there can be no more than 4 members of one political party. So I'm going to be watching and hoping that you follow Indiana code when making appointments to the Board of Health, because these are the same kinds of concerns and issues and trust issues that we've had and why we were concerned about this voter registration board. Thank you.
Hi, Donna Hurley. I'm Democratic Deputy, St. Joe County Voter Registration. First, I want to say thank you to the board members for finally pushing this through. This has been a long time coming. There has been so much behind the scenes that, you know, I sit out and I listen to people talk about what it's like inside voter registration. Nobody has any idea how horrific it has been. And it's been that way off and on for years, but they talk about worrying about who's going to be appointed as a deputy. I'm glad this has happened because it's like they appoint somebody that's going to be on the board and then we're left to deal with them. And when this person was recently found in violation of policy by a majority vote, we're the ones that have to deal with the aftermath of that. And there's a lot they don't see. And as you can see, we are 100% for this merger. But the other 3 people sitting out there that have on this shirt like I do, we are all bipartisan, but we're also family. And we talk about grandkids, we talk about kids at school, we talk about all kinds of things because for the first time, I think in a very long time, because of someone that was finally taken from the St. Joe County, we can be who and what we need to be. We are very good and we are all dedicated to our jobs. We're looking forward to going down with the clerks. And I have 100% complete confidence that with Amy Rothfuss and Tricia Carrico, this is going to be a great, great merger. And I'm so glad, and I thank you all so very much.
Does anybody else in the audience wish to make a comment?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Liggett. I live at 1113 Climbing Rose Lane in Mishawaka. And I just want to say, I've shared this idea with a few friends of mine. I've registered a lot of voters, take people to the polls. You know what I hear? I hear fear that this is very partisan. I hear uncertainty. Why now? And I hear doubt that this is done for the proper reasons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I add an addendum to my comments? I would like to know that the clerk would run her office better than she ran it in her campaign with no integrity. I hope the office is run better than her campaign. Thank you.
Does anybody online wish to make a comment?
I think Mr. Connery wanted to say something too. Of course. Come on, come on.
Coming. Took the long way.
We went that way.
I got to get my steps in. Good evening, Kevin Connery, 51291 Hidden Pines Court, Granger, Indiana. First of all, I understand that we have to make changes in the county. We need bipartisanship. The only thing I caution you on with this merger of the offices is when I was doing my petition to run, and I had to go to the clerk's office and I had to go to voters registration. The clerk's office is kind of a quagmire downstairs. When you have the clerk all the way in the back, you have the ladies up front that are handling the things with the courts, getting payment, getting marriage license. The only thing I challenge you on is that you make the appropriate changes downstairs in that office, because it is a quagmire. When you come up there to like when I needed to see the clerk, or I needed to get something recorded, or I needed something time stamped, I had to wait, they had to go in the back. So I think with making these changes that you do need to consider the structuring of that office. Now, when I went up to voters registration, it was wide open and I could get my questions answered, and I had both parties were up there. So, I mean, everybody worked along with me at that time. But again, I just want to caution you with moving everybody under one area, that it's going to be tough down there, because you have people down there with getting licenses and all those other things in that area. So I'm hoping that, you know, with that being in mind, that you'll have a different place for everybody to go, because voters registration is important. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I just had to get in here. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Coquillard. I live at 2907 Woodmere Lane, Goshen, and I'm the District 2 representative for the Libertarian Party of Indiana, as well as the co-director of Liberty Offense, a 501c4 organization here in Indiana. I also was on the campaign team for the Libertarian Party of Indiana's Secretary of State candidate, Jeff Moore, who focused his campaign on fair and transparent elections. Actually, fair and transparent elections has been championed by libertarians since our party's inception in 1971, and probably before then too. It's important to us, and it's important to everybody here in this room today. Unfortunately, not everyone in this room is afforded representation in this process. This resolution provided a 50-50 split of clerk employees between Democrats and Republicans, but in reality, we don't have a 50-50 split in this nation. Nearly 40% of people are independent or of another party other than Republican or Democrat, yet we were discriminated against when it comes to being a part of the election process, especially because these are paid positions. So what I learned from the Secretary of State's race, as well as the St. Joseph County Clerk's race, is that it is always good to have a balanced perspective. And when two parties dispute each other, even after a 50-50 split, who better than to have a third party as a neutral mediator? We do this in courts amongst friends, and we do this with sports games. why can't we do this in our voting process, especially because of the way politics is being played across our nation? A third party is key to making that a better process. And so we failed there. All I really have to say is bipartisan is so partisan, and this is not including a vast majority of the people that live here. So thank you for your time.
Okay, one final time, does anybody online wish to make a comment? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
We're in recess.
We are recessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.